The fluorescent lights of Denver International Airport buzzed overhead like angry wasps as Sarah Mitchell clutched her boarding pass with white knuckles, her 3-year-old daughter Emma wailing inconsolably in her arms. The sound echoed through Terminal B, drawing disapproving stares from fellow travelers who shuffled past with their rolling suitcases, their faces twisted in annoyance. Sarah's chest tightened with each sob that escaped Emma's tiny body, feeling the weight of judgment crushing down on her shoulders like a lead blanket. "Please, sweetheart, please stop crying," Sarah whispered desperately, bouncing Emma against her hip as tears of frustration burned behind her own eyes. The delayed flight to Chicago had already stretched their layover into a 3-hour nightmare, and Emma's patience here along with Sarah's sanity had completely unraveled. That's when she saw him approaching, a tall, elderly man in a maintenance uniform, pushing a yellow mop bucket with quiet determination. His weathered face bore the kind lines of someone who had spent decades witnessing the full spectrum of human emotion within these sterile walls. But Sarah, consumed by exhaustion and embarrassment, saw only another stranger about to judge her parenting. "Mom, is everything?" The janitor began softly, extending a gentle hand toward Emma. "Don't," Sarah snapped, jerking Emma away from his reach. "Don't you dare touch my child. I don't need some stranger telling me how to handle my own daughter." Her voice cracked with exhaustion and fury, the words tumbling out before her rational mind could stop them. "Just do your job and leave us alone." The man's hand froze mid-air, his expression shifting from concern to hurt in the space of a heartbeat. Around them, the busy terminal seemed to pause, passengers slowing their pace to witness the uncomfortable scene unfolding. Sarah felt heat rising in her cheeks but couldn't seem to stop herself from continuing. "I'm perfectly capable of taking care of my child without help from the maintenance staff," she added, her tone dripping with the kind of cruel dismissiveness that comes from a place of deep pain and helplessness. The janitor slowly lowered his hand, his shoulders sagging slightly. For a moment, he simply stood there, his kind eyes reflecting a sadness that went beyond her harsh words. Then, so quietly that Sarah almost missed it over Emma's continued crying, he spoke. "Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell." The world stopped. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, her arms instinctively tightening around Emma as she stared at this man she was certain she'd never seen before. How could he possibly know her full name? Her mind raced through possibilities. Had he overheard an announcement, seen her identification somehow? But deep in her chest, something else stirred. Something familiar and distant, like an old song heard through static. "I'm sorry," she stammered, her earlier anger evaporating into confusion. Do I know you?" The man's weathered face softened into the gentlest of smiles, and suddenly Sarah was no longer looking at a stranger in a maintenance uniform. She was looking into eyes that had once helped her tie her shoes, had bandaged scraped knees, had read bedtime stories in a voice full of magic and warmth. "Grandpa Joe?" The words escaped her lips as barely a whisper. Joseph Mitchell, her mother's father, the man who had practically raised her after her parents' messy divorce. He nodded slowly. "Hello, sunshine. It's been a long time." Sarah's legs nearly gave out beneath her. The grandfather she remembered had been robust and energetic, with thick gray hair and hands that seemed capable of fixing anything. This man before her was thinner, his hair white as snow, his hands gnarled by age and hard work. She hadn't seen him in over 8 years, not since that terrible argument about her marriage, about choices and disappointments that seemed so petty now. "I thought Mom said you moved to Florida." "She said you were." Sarah couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't voice the assumption that had led her to stop reaching out, stop caring. "I did move to Florida," he said gently, pulling a faded photo from his wall led to a picture of Emma that Sarah recognized from her Christmas card 2 years ago. But my arthritis got bad, and I needed work that kept me moving. Airport maintenance pays well, and I get to help people every day, even when they don't think they need help. Emma had stopped crying, seemingly mesmerized by this new presence. She reached out toward her great-grandfather with chubby fingers, and this time Sarah didn't pull away. "She has your mother's eyes," Joe said softly, allowing Emma to grab his finger. "And your stubborn streak, I'd imagine." Tears began streaming down Sarah's cheeks in earnest now. "Grandpa, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I wouldn't have spoken to me like that." He chuckled, but there was no bitterness in it. "Sweetheart, I've been cleaning up messes, literal and metaphorical, for 73 years. A tired mother protecting her cub? That's nothing I haven't seen before. In fact, it tells me I raised your mother right. And she raised you right too. But I was horrible to you. I said such awful things." Joe shook his head, his free hand reaching up to gently wipe away her tears. "You were scared and exhausted and trying to be everything for your little girl. There's no shame in that. The shame would be in not learning from it." As if summoned by some cosmic sense of timing, the gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom. "Flight 447 to Chicago is now ready for boarding." Sarah looked at her boarding pass, then back at her grandfather, panic rising in her chest. "I can't leave. Not now. Not when I just found you again." "Chicago's not that far," Joe said with a wink. "And I'm not going anywhere. Besides, someone needs to keep these floors clean for when you come back to visit." As they walked toward the gate together, Emma now contentedly resting against her great-grandfather's shoulder, Joe turned to Sarah one more time. "You know, the best part about working here isn't the steady paycheck or the exercise. It's getting to witness all the little miracles that happen when people are at their most vulnerable. Reunions, first meetings, last goodbyes. Sometimes we're all just angels in disguise, waiting for our moment to help." Sarah boarded her plane that day with more than just her daughter and her luggage. She carried with her a reminder that kindness often comes from the most unexpected places, that judgment can blind us to the very help we need most, and that sometimes the universe conspires to teach us exactly the lesson we need to learn, even if it takes place in the sterile corridors of an airport terminal, delivered by an angel in janitor's clothing.